The message came at midnight. Admiral Una was sleeping in her small room on Space Station Delta when the alarm woke her. She opened her eyes and looked at the ceiling. Red lights were flashing everywhere. Something was very wrong. She got up quickly and put on her uniform. Her hands were shaking a little. In her 30 years of service, she had never seen the red alarm. It meant only one thing. War was coming. Una walked fast through the metal hallways. Other officers were running in different directions. Their faces showed fear. Nobody spoke. They all knew what the red alarm meant. She entered the command room. The large screen on the wall showed a map of the galaxy. Small red dots were moving toward the outer colonies. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Report," Una said. Her voice was calm, but her heart was beating fast. Lieutenant Jiwoo turned to face her. He was young, maybe 25 years old. His eyes were wide with fear. "Admiral, we received a distress signal from Colony 7. The Velen Empire has crossed the border. They are attacking." Una felt cold. The Velen Empire was the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had conquered 100 worlds in the last 1,000 years. Their ships were massive. Their weapons were deadly. And now they were coming for the human colonies. "How many ships?" she asked. Jiwoo looked at his screen. "Our sensors count 3,000 warships, Admiral. And more are coming. 3,000 ships. The entire human fleet had only 200 vessels. Most of them were old. Some did not even work properly. Against the Velen Empire, humanity had no chance. "Send a message to Earth," Una ordered. "Tell them what is happening. We need help." Jiwoo nodded and started typing on his computer. Una watched the red dots on the screen. They were moving slowly but steadily. In 3 days, they would reach Colony 7. In a week, they would reach Earth. The next morning, Una traveled to Earth. She took the fastest transport ship available. Even so, the journey took 12 hours. She spent the entire time thinking about what she would say to the Galactic Council. The council met in a large building in the center of Seoul. Representatives from 100 alien species sat in a circular room. Their bodies came in all shapes and sizes. Some had blue skin. Others had tentacles. A few looked almost human, but with strange eyes or extra arms. Una stood in the center of the room. She felt very small. She was the only human here. The aliens looked at her with curious eyes. Some of them seemed bored. Others were whispering to each other. "The Velen Empire is attacking human colonies," Una said. Her voice echoed in the large room. "We need the Council's protection. We need help." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then, a tall alien with gray skin stood up. His name was Lord Vec. He was one of the most powerful members of the Council. "Why should we help you?" Lord Vec asked. His voice was cold. "Humans are a young species. You have only been traveling in space for 300 years. You have nothing to offer the galaxy." Una felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice steady. "We are citizens of this galaxy. We have the right to protection." Lord Vec laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Rights? You speak of rights? The Velen Empire is strong. You are weak. That is the only law in this universe." Other aliens nodded their heads. Some of them were smiling. They found the situation funny. A small, weak species asking for help against the mighty Velen Empire. It was a joke to them. "The Council will not interfere," Lord Vec said. "This is not our war. You must solve your own problems. Little humans." Una wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them that millions of innocent people would die. But she knew it would not matter. The Council did not care about humanity. They never had. She walked out of the building without saying another word. The sun was shining outside, but Yuna felt only darkness in her heart. Humanity was alone. They had always been alone. That evening, she met Captain Do-hyun at a small restaurant in the old part of Seoul. He was a tall man with short black hair and calm eyes. They had known each other for 20 years. He was one of the few people she truly trusted. "The council refused," Yuna said. She took a drink of water. Her throat was dry. Do-hyun nodded slowly. "I expected that. They never liked us. They think we are too young, too primitive. We have 3 days before the Velen reach Colony 7. After that, they will come here." Yuna's voice was tired. "We cannot stop them. We have 200 ships. They have 3,000. Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. He looked out the window at the busy street below. People were walking, talking, laughing. They did not know what was coming. They did not know that their world might end soon. "There is another way," Do-hyun said finally. Yuna looked at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean, there is something the galaxy does not know about us." Do-hyun leaned forward. His voice was very quiet now. "There is a project. A secret project. It has been going on for 200 years. Yuna felt confused. "What kind of project?" "A ship," Do-hyun said. "A warship like nothing the galaxy has ever seen. It was built deep under the mountains. Nobody knows about it except a few people. Why was I not told? Because it was meant to be our last hope. Our final weapon. It was never supposed to be used." Do-hyun paused. "But now we have no choice." Yuna's heart was beating fast again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from hope. "Where is this ship?" "In a mountain facility near Bazan. I have a team waiting there. Engineers, pilots, soldiers. They are ready." "Ready for what?" Do-hyun smiled for the first time that night. It was a small smile, but it carried something dangerous in it. Something fierce. Ready to show the galaxy what humanity can really do. Yuna looked at her old friend. She did not know if she should believe him. A secret ship? Hidden for 200 years? It sounded impossible. But she had no other options. The council had abandoned them. The Velen were coming. If there was even a small chance, she had to take it. "Tell me everything," she said, and so he did. He talked for hours. He told her about the engineers who had worked in secret. He told her about the technology they had discovered. He told her about the ship called the Taeguk and the power it contained. By the time he finished, the sun was rising over Seoul. Yuna sat in silence. Her mind was trying to understand everything she had heard. If Do-hyun was telling the truth, then humanity had a weapon that could change everything. "I need to see it," she said. Do-hyun stood up. "Then let us go. We do not have much time." They left the restaurant together. The morning air was cool and fresh. Birds were singing in the trees. Somewhere in the distance, children were playing. Yuna looked up at the sky. The stars were fading as the sun rose. Somewhere out there, 3,000 enemy ships were coming to destroy everything she loved. But for the first time in days, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The helicopter flew over green mountains. Below, forests stretched as far as Yuna could see. There were no cities here, no roads, nothing but nature and silence. Do-hyun sat beside her. He had not spoken since they left Seoul. His eyes were fixed on the mountains ahead. Yuna could tell he was thinking about something important. "How much further?" she asked. 10 minutes, Do-hyun replied. "The entrance is hidden. You will not see it until we are very close." Yuna nodded and looked out the window again. She still could not believe what Do-hyun had told her. A secret ship built over 200 years. Technology that the galaxy had never seen. It sounded like a story, a fairy tale. But Doheen was not the kind of man who told fairy tales. The helicopter began to slow down. Yuna looked ahead and saw nothing but a mountain wall. There was no entrance, no building, nothing. "I do not see anything," she said. Doyun smiled. "Watch." He pressed a button on a small device in his hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly part of the mountain began to move. A massive door, hidden perfectly in the rock, slid open. Behind it was darkness. The helicopter flew inside. Lights turned on automatically, showing a tunnel large enough for 10 aircraft to fly side by side. The walls were smooth metal. Everything was clean and new. They flew through the tunnel for 2 more minutes. Then the tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber. Yuna's breath caught in her throat. The chamber was enormous. It was at least 5 kilometers wide and 3 kilometers tall. Huge lights hung from the ceiling, making everything bright as day. Thousands of workers moved around on different platforms. Machines hummed and beeped everywhere, but none of that mattered. Yuna's eyes were fixed on the thing in the center of the chamber. It was a ship. But it was like no ship she had ever seen. The Teguk was black. Not just dark, but truly black, like a piece of empty space. It seemed to eat the light around it. The shape was strange too. It was not like the round or rectangular ships of other species. It was angular, with sharp edges that looked dangerous. The entire thing seemed alive somehow, like a sleeping predator. The helicopter landed on a platform near the ship. Yuna stepped out and stood there, staring. She could not move. She could not speak. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "What do you think?" a voice asked. Yuna turned and saw a woman walking toward her. She was short with long black hair tied in a ponytail. She wore a white coat covered in grease and oil stains. Her eyes were bright with intelligence. "This is Chief Engineer Hana," Dayun said. "She has been working on the Taiguk for 20 years. She knows it better than anyone." Hana bowed slightly. "Welcome, Admiral. I am glad you are finally here to see our work." Yuna found her voice again. "How is this possible? How did you build something like this without anyone knowing?" Hana laughed softly. "It was not easy. We had to work slowly. We could not use regular materials or methods. Everything had to be invented from scratch. But the technology," Yuna said, "it looks more advanced than anything in the galaxy." "That is because it is," Hana replied. "Let me show you." They walked across the platform and entered the ship through a side door. The inside was even more impressive than the outside. The walls were covered with screens and controls that Yuna did not recognize. The air felt different, charged with some kind of energy. They entered the main control room. It was circular, with a large chair in the center facing a massive window. Around the room, other stations were set up for navigation, weapons, and engineering. "The Taiguk has 3 main systems that make it special," Hana explained. She pointed to a screen on the wall. "First is the ghost drive. It allows the ship to become invisible, not just to eyes, but to all sensors. Radar, heat detection, gravity waves. Nothing can find us when the ghost drive is active." Yuna stared at the screen. "Impossible. Every ship creates some kind of signal. There is no way to hide completely." "That is what the galaxy believes," Hana said with a small smile. "They are wrong. We found a way to bend space around the ship. It creates a bubble where nothing can enter or leave. We become a ghost." "Second is the void shield," Hana continued. She walked to another station. Regular shields block energy by absorbing or reflecting it. Our shield works differently. It opens tiny holes in space. Any attack that hits us falls through those holes and disappears. The energy goes somewhere else. We do not know where, but it does not hurt us. Yuna's mind was struggling to understand. This technology was beyond anything she had studied. It was beyond anything the galaxy had. And the third system? She asked. Hana's eyes became serious. The third system is our weapon. We call it the Silent Thunder. She pressed a button, and the main screen showed a simulation. A single beam of light shot from the Taiguk toward an enemy ship. The enemy ship did not explode. It did not break apart. It simply stopped. All lights turned off. All movement stopped. It became dead in space. The Silent Thunder does not destroy ships, Hana explained. It kills everything inside them. Every computer, every engine, every life support system. In 1 second, a warship becomes a floating coffin. Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. And the crew? Hana was quiet for a moment. They survive. For a while. But with no air, no power, no heat, they do not survive for long. Unless someone rescues them. It was a terrible weapon. A cruel weapon. But Yuna understood why it was made this way. Humanity could not match the galaxy in numbers. They could not build thousands of ships. But if one ship could disable an entire fleet, numbers did not matter. Who else knows about this? Yuna asked. Only the people in this facility, Do-hyun answered. He had been standing quietly by the door. About 500 engineers, soldiers, and pilots. All of them have dedicated their lives to this project. None of them have left this mountain in years. Yuna thought about that. 500 people who had given up normal lives. Who had worked in secret, underground, for years. All for this moment. All for this ship. There is one more person you need to meet, Do-hyun said. He led her out of the control room and down a long corridor. They stopped at a door marked with a small symbol. The door opened, and they entered a training room. Inside, a man was practicing with a sword. He moved fast, faster than any human Yuna had ever seen. Each swing was perfect. Each step was precise. He stopped when he saw them. He was tall, with a strong build and short gray hair. His face was calm, but hard, like stone. His eyes showed nothing. Admiral Yuna, the man said. He bowed deeply. I am Commander Taiwu. I will be leading the Taiguk into battle. You have been training for this, Yuna said. My whole life, Taiwu replied. I was born in this facility. I grew up here. I have studied every battle in galactic history. I have trained in every form of combat. I exist for one purpose only. And what is that purpose? Taiwu looked at her with those cold, empty eyes. To show the galaxy that humanity is not weak. To make them fear us. To win. Yuna looked at this man, this warrior who had been raised like a weapon. She looked at the ship that science said should not exist. She looked at the engineers who had sacrificed everything for a secret dream. 200 years of work. Thousands of hours of training. An entire lifetime of preparation, all for one battle. Yuna turned to Do-hyun. How soon can we launch? Do-hyun smiled. 24 hours. The ship is ready. The crew is ready. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Yuna nodded slowly. She looked out the window at the massive black ship. Tomorrow, it would fly into space. Tomorrow, it would face 3,000 enemy warships alone. And tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that they had made a terrible mistake. They had ignored humanity. They had laughed at humanity. They had left humanity alone to die. Now humanity would answer. Colony 7 was burning. From space, the fires looked like tiny orange dots on the surface of the planet. Smoke rose from the cities. Buildings lay in ruins. 3 million people lived on that world. Now they were dying. Admiral Grok of the Velen Empire watched from his command ship. He was a large creature, twice the size of a human, with thick green skin and 4 arms. His eyes were yellow and cold. He had destroyed 100 worlds in his long career. Colony 7 was just another number. "Status report," he ordered. His second officer, a smaller Velen named Torque, checked the screens. "Our ground forces have taken the capital city. Resistance is almost finished. The humans are surrendering in large groups." Grok made a sound of disgust. "Weak. I expected more from them. They did not even put up a real fight. They had no warships to defend them, Admiral. Only a few old patrol vessels. We destroyed them in minutes." Grok nodded. He looked at the tactical display. His fleet of 3,000 warships surrounded the planet like a net. Nothing could get in or out. The blockade was perfect. "Send a message to the Emperor," Grok said. "Tell him Colony 7 is ours. We will move to the next target in 2 days." "Yes, Admiral." Grok leaned back in his command chair. This war would be easy. The humans had no real military. Their ships were old and weak. Their technology was 1,000 years behind the Velen Empire. In a month, perhaps 2, all human worlds would belong to the Emperor. And then, something strange happened. "Admiral!" Torque's voice was suddenly loud, scared. "Our sensors are detecting something." Grok sat up. "What is it?" "I do not know, Admiral. There's a disturbance in hyperspace. Something is coming." Grok looked at the tactical display. A red warning light was blinking at the edge of the system. Something was approaching. Something big. One of our ships? Grok asked. "No, Admiral. The signature is wrong. It is not Velen." Grok felt something he had not felt in a very long time. A small touch of worry. "Can you identify it?" Torque worked on his controls. His hands were shaking. "The signature matches nothing in our database. Whatever it is, we have never seen it before." Grok stood up and walked to the large window at the front of the command room. He looked out at the stars. His fleet stretched before him. Thousands of ships, each one a weapon of destruction. The most powerful force in the galaxy. Then space itself seemed to tear open. A hole appeared in the darkness. It was pure black, darker than anything Grok had ever seen. Light bent around it in strange ways. For a moment, it hung there like a wound in reality. And then something came out. The ship was black. Not just dark, but impossibly black. It seemed to swallow the light around it. The shape was angular and sharp, like a blade made for killing. It was smaller than Grok expected, maybe half the size of his command ship. But something about it felt wrong. Dangerous. "What is that?" Grok whispered. Torque was staring at his screens. His face had gone pale. "Admiral, according to our database, that is a human vessel." "Impossible." Grok shook his head. "Humans do not have ships like that. Their technology is primitive. I am telling you what the sensors say, Admiral. It is human. But the readings make no sense. The power output is off the charts, and I cannot get a proper scan. Something is blocking our sensors." Grok watched the black ship floating in space. One ship. The humans had sent one ship against this fleet of 3,000. It was either the greatest act of courage he had ever seen, or the greatest act of stupidity. "Open a communication channel," Grok ordered. The screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was a human male with short gray hair and cold eyes. He sat in a command chair, calm and still. Behind him, Grok could see other humans working at various stations. "I am Admiral Grok of the Velen Empire," Grok said. "You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself." The human looked at Grok for a long moment before speaking. "I am Commander Taiwu of the Earth Defense Force. I am here to ask you one question." Grok laughed. The sound echoed through the command room. You are in no position to ask questions, human. You are one ship against 3,000. Surrender now, and I will let your crew live. Taiwu did not react to the threat. His face remained calm. My question is simple, Admiral. Will you leave human space peacefully? Will you release the prisoners you have taken? Will you stop your attack on our colonies? Grok could not believe what he was hearing. This human, this insect, was making demands? It was beyond foolish. It was insane. I will give you 10 seconds to surrender, Grok said. After that, I will destroy your ship and everyone on it. Taiwu nodded slowly. I understand. You have made your choice. The screen went dark. Gr. OK, turn to Torque. Target that ship. All weapons. Fire on my command. Yes, Admiral. Torque began pressing buttons on his control panel. But then, he stopped. His eyes went wide. Admiral, something is happening. What now? The human ship has disappeared. Grok looked at the tactical display. The red dot that represented the human vessel was gone. He looked out the window. The space where the black ship had been was empty. Where did it go? Grok demanded. I do not know, Admiral. It did not jump to hyperspace. It did not move. It just vanished. Grok felt the worry growing in his chest. This was wrong. Ships did not just vanish. It was not possible. Find it, he ordered. Use every sensor we have. Scan every corner of this system. His crew worked frantically. Minutes passed. They found nothing. Then Lieutenant Minji, sitting in the weapons station of the Taigak, pressed a single button. The first violent ship died quietly. One moment, its lights were on, its engines running, its weapons ready. The next moment, everything was dark. The ship floated in space like a dead fish. Then another ship died. And another. And another. Grok watched in horror as his fleet began to go dark. Ship after ship after ship, all losing power at the same time. There were no explosions. No fire, no destruction. Just silence and darkness spreading through his fleet like a disease. What is happening? Grok screamed. Report. Torque was shaking so badly he could barely speak. The ships are losing all power, Admiral. Engines, weapons, life support. Everything is failing. But we do not know why. Grok grabbed Torque by the throat. Find that ship, kill it. We cannot find it, Admiral. It is invisible. Our sensors cannot detect it. Grok threw Torque to the ground. They looked out the window again. More than 100 of his ships were dark now. Others were firing their weapons randomly into space, hoping to hit something, anything. But they were shooting at ghosts. Then Grok saw it. For just a second, the black ship appeared. It was moving through his fleet like a shadow, sliding between his warships as if they were standing still. It fired no weapons that Grok could see. It made no sound. It was just there. A dark shape in the darkness of space, and everywhere it went, ships died. Grok felt something he had never felt in his entire life. He felt fear. Real fear. The kind that makes you want to run and hide like a child. All ships, he said into his communicator. His voice was shaking. Retreat. All ships retreat now. But it was already too late. The black ship was everywhere and nowhere. It moved faster than any vessel Grok had ever seen. It struck without warning and disappeared without a trace. One by one, his mighty fleet fell silent. And somewhere in that black ship, Commander Taiwu sat in his chair and watched the chaos unfold. His face showed no emotion. No joy, no anger. Just calm, cold determination. The galaxy had ignored humanity for 300 years. Now humanity was making them remember. The Velen Imperial Palace was the largest building in the galaxy. It stood on the homeworld of the Empire, a planet called Velis Prime. The palace was made of gold and precious stones. It had 10,000 rooms and a garden the size of a small city. For 2,000 years, it had been the symbol of Velen power. Today, that symbol meant nothing. Emperor Vrock sat on his throne and listened to the reports. His advisors stood before him, their heads bowed, their voices shaking. They were afraid. The most powerful beings in the galaxy, and they were afraid. "Say that again," the Emperor said. His voice was low and dangerous. General Mach, the head of the Velen military, cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, we have lost contact with Admiral Grock's fleet. All 3,000 ships have gone dark." "Gone dark? What does that mean?" "They are not destroyed, Your Majesty. Our long-range sensors show the ships are still there, but they have no power, no movement, no communication. They are dead in space." Emperor Vrock gripped the arms of his throne. His claws dug into the gold surface. 3,000 ships. The largest fleet in our history. And you are telling me they are all disabled? "Yes, Your Majesty." "How? How is this possible?" General Mach looked at the floor. He did not want to say the next words. "It was one ship, Your Majesty. One human ship." The throne room was silent. The Emperor stared at General Mach for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. It was not a happy sound. "One ship," the Emperor said. "You expect me to believe that one ship defeated 3,000 of our finest warships? I do not expect you to believe it, Your Majesty. But it is the truth. We have recordings from ships that went dark. They show a black vessel moving through the fleet. Wherever it went, ships lost power. We do not understand how. We do not know what weapon it used. We only know that nothing could stop it." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with muscles like tree trunks. His presence alone had made entire species surrender. Now, for the first time in his long reign, he felt something close to doubt. "Show me the recording," he ordered. General Mach pressed a button on his communicator. The air in front of the throne shimmered, and a holographic image appeared. It showed space around Colony 7. The Velen fleet was arranged in perfect formation, thousands of ships filling the darkness. Then the black ship appeared. Emperor Vrock watched it move through his fleet. It was like watching a ghost. The ship appeared and disappeared at will. It passed through the middle of formations without slowing down. Velen warships fired at it, but the weapons had no effect. They passed right through the black ship as if it was not their dot, and everywhere the ship went, Velen vessels died. Their lights went out. Their engines stopped. They became floating tombs in the void of space. "Stop the recording," the Emperor said. The image froze. The Emperor stared at it for a long time. "What do we know about this ship?" he asked finally. "Very little, Your Majesty. It appears to be of human origin, but the technology is beyond anything we have seen. Our scientists are analyzing the recordings, but they cannot explain what they are seeing. And the humans? What do they say?" "Nothing, Your Majesty. They have made no announcements, no demands. The ship simply appeared, destroyed our fleet, and disappeared." Emperor Vrock walked to the window of his throne room. He looked out at the city below. Millions of Velen citizens went about their daily lives. They did not know what had happened. They did not know that their undefeated military had been humiliated by a species they considered primitive. "This cannot be known," the Emperor said. "If our people learn that one human ship defeated our entire invasion fleet, there will be panic. Other species will see us as weak. Our empire will fall." "I understand, Your Majesty. But what do we do about the humans?" The Emperor thought for a long moment. For 2,000 years, the Velen Empire had conquered through strength. They had bigger ships, more weapons, more soldiers. They had never needed to think, only to crush. Now they faced something they could not crush. Something they could not even understand. Meanwhile, on the Taigek, Lieutenant Minji was running final systems checks. She was young, only 23 years old, but she had trained for this her entire life. Born in the mountain facility, she had never seen the sky until yesterday. Her whole world had been screens and simulations and numbers. Now she was in actual combat. And it felt good. "Commander," she said to Taiwu, "all systems are operating at full capacity. The ghost drive is stable. The void shield is holding. The silent thunder is ready for use." Taiwu nodded. He looked at the tactical display showing the disabled Velen fleet. Nearly 2,000 ships were dark now. The remaining 1,000 were trying to flee. "They are running," said pilot Junho from the navigation station. He was the youngest member of the bridge crew, barely 20 years old. But his hands were steady on the controls. "Should I pursue?" Taiwu considered this. They could easily catch the fleeing ships. They could disable the entire fleet. But that was not the mission. "Let them go," Taiwu decided. "We want survivors. We want witnesses. We want the galaxy to know what happened here." Junho nodded and adjusted their course. Chief Engineer Hannah's voice came over the communication system. She was in the engine room, monitoring the power systems. "Commander, I am happy to report that all systems performed exactly as designed. The Taigak has taken no damage. The enemy weapons had no effect." "Excellent work, Chief," Taiwu said. "How's the crew?" "Excited, Commander. Very excited. Many of them are crying. They have waited their whole lives for this moment." Taiwu understood. He felt something too, deep in his chest. Not quite happiness. Not quite satisfaction. Something older. Something stronger. It was the feeling of proving everyone wrong. The feeling of being underestimated for centuries and then showing your true power. The Velen fleet continued to scatter. Ships that had come as conquerors now fled as refugees. Their formations were broken. Their chain of command was in chaos. They fired blindly at empty space, hitting nothing. Minji watched them on her screen. "They are panicking," she said. There was no pleasure in her voice, only observation. "They do not understand what is happening to them." "Fear of the unknown," Taiwu said. "It is the oldest fear, and the strongest." Admiral Yuna watched everything from Earth. She stood in a secure command center with Do-Yun and a small team of officers. They had set up a direct link with the Taigak to monitor the battle in real time. There was no battle, really. It was like watching an adult take toys from a child. The Velen had no chance. They could not see the Taigak. They could not hit it. They could not even run fast enough to escape. "This is beyond anything I imagined," Yuna said quietly. Do-Yun stood beside her. His face was calm, but his eyes were bright. 200 years of work. 200 years of hiding and building and waiting. And now the galaxy will finally see what we have made. Will they accept us? Yuna asked. Or will they fear us? Does it matter? Do-Yun replied. They ignored us when we asked for help. They laughed at us when we begged for protection. Now they will deal with us whether they want to or not. Yuna thought about that. She thought about the Galactic Council and Lord Vex's cold words. She thought about how alone humanity had felt for so long. Now they were not alone anymore. Now they had power. Real power. The kind of power that made empires tremble. On the tactical display, the last Velen ships jumped to hyperspace. They were gone. Colony 7 was free, and the Taigak remained, floating in the darkness like a black star, silent, invisible, waiting. The message would spread. The surviving Velen would tell their stories. The news would travel across the galaxy like wildfire. Other species would hear about the strange human ship that could not be seen, could not be touched, could not be stopped. Fear would spread. Panic would follow, and humanity would be at the center of it all. Commander Taiwu looked at his crew. These young men and women who had given everything for this moment. They had never known normal lives. They had never walked under open skies or swam in oceans or felt rain on their faces. They were weapons made human. Good work, he said simply. It was enough. Minji smiled. Junho laughed. Even Hannah, in her engine room, allowed herself a small moment of joy. They had done it. Against all odds, against all expectations, they had done it. The first battle was over. The war for respect had just begun. 1 week passed since the battle at Colony 7. In that week, the galaxy changed forever. The news spread faster than any ship could travel. Stories of the black human warship were told on 1,000 worlds. Some said it was a demon from the void. Others said it was an ancient weapon from a dead civilization. A few brave souls admitted the truth. The humans had built something terrible. And the humans were not hiding anymore. Commander Taiwu brought the Taiguk home. The ship emerged from hyperspace above Earth, and for the first time in 200 years, it was seen by normal people. News cameras captured images of the black vessel floating in the sky. The whole planet watched in wonder. Taiwu had expected fear. He had expected panic. Instead, he found celebration. People danced in the streets of every city. They sang songs and waved flags. So long, humanity had felt small and weak in the galaxy. Now they had a protector. Now they had hope. Admiral Yuna met him at the landing platform in Seoul. The Taiguk was too large to land on Earth, so Taiwu took a small shuttle down to the surface. When he stepped out, thousands of people were waiting. They cheered so loudly that he could not hear his own thoughts. Yuna walked through the crowd to meet him. She was smiling, but there was worry in her eyes. "Welcome home, Commander," she said. Taiwu bowed slightly. "It is strange to be here. I have never walked under a real sky before." Yuna looked at him with sad eyes. "You have sacrificed much for this moment. All of you have." "We did what was necessary," Taiwu said simply. "The question now is what comes next." Yuna nodded. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency meeting. All species are required to attend. They want to discuss the human situation." "The human situation," Taiwu repeated. He almost smiled. "That is what they are calling it?" "They are afraid," Yuna said. "They do not understand our technology. They do not know if we have more ships like the Taiguk. They do not know what we want. Then let us tell them." 3 days later, the Galactic Council gathered on the neutral station called Harmony. It was the same circular room where Yuna had begged for help just 2 weeks ago. The same aliens sat in the same seats. But the atmosphere was completely different. Before, they had looked at Yuna with pity and amusement. Now, they looked at her with fear. Do-Yoon walked beside Yuna into the chamber. Behind them came Commander Taiwu in his military uniform. And behind him came 4 members of the Taiguk crew. Minji, Junho, Hana, and 2 soldiers named Subin and Hemen. They walked in perfect formation, their faces calm and cold. Lord Vex stood as they entered. His gray face was pale. His hands were shaking slightly. "Admiral Yuna," he said. His voice was not cold anymore. It was careful, respectful. "Thank you for coming." Yuna did not smile. "I was not aware I had a choice." Vec looked uncomfortable. "Please, take your seats. We have much to discuss." The humans sat in chairs that had been hastily added to the chamber. Before, there had been no place for humanity in the council. Now, there was a place at the very center of the room. Vec began to speak. "The council has been informed of recent events in human space. We have reviewed the evidence. We have analyzed the recordings. We have reached some conclusions." He paused, looking around the room. Other aliens were watching him. Some looked angry. Some looked scared. None of them looked confident. "The technology displayed by the human vessel is unprecedented," Vec continued. "It represents a significant shift in the balance of power in our galaxy. The Council believes we must address this situation carefully." Una stood up. Her voice was clear and strong. "Let me save you some time, Lord Vec. I know what you want to ask. You want to know how we built the Taiguk. You want to know if we have more ships. You want to know if we are a threat." Vec nodded slowly. "Those are indeed our questions. Then let me answer them." Una looked around the room. She looked at every species, every representative, every face. "We built the Taiguk because we had no choice. For 300 years, we asked for protection. For 300 years, we were denied. When the Velen attacked us, we came to this very room. We begged for help. And you laughed at us." The room was silent. Several aliens looked at the floor in shame. "So we protected ourselves," Una continued. "We built something that could not be ignored. Something that could not be defeated. Something that would make sure no one ever laughed at humanity again." She paused, letting her words sink in. "As for your other questions, I will not tell you how we built the Taiguk. That is our secret to keep. I will not tell you if we have more ships. That is also our secret. But I will tell you what we want." Lord Vec leaned forward. "And what is that?" "We want a seat on this council. Not as observers. Not as junior members. As equals. We want full voting rights. We want representation in all council decisions. We want respect." Vec looked around the room. Other council members were whispering to each other. Some were nodding. Others were shaking their heads. "And if we refuse?" Vec asked quietly. Taiwu stood up beside Una. He did not speak loudly. He did not need to. "If you refuse," he said, "then we will protect ourselves by other means." The Velen learned what happens when they attack human worlds. Others can learn the same lesson. The threat hung in the air like smoke. No one doubted that Taiwu meant every word. This was a man who had disabled 2,000 warships in a single day. A man who had been raised as a weapon. Lord Vec was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed deeply. "I believe the council needs time to discuss this matter," he said. "We will call a vote." The vote took less than an hour. When it was done, Lord Vec stood before the assembly. By a vote of 87 to 13, the Galactic Council hereby grants full membership to the species known as humanity. Earth will have a permanent seat on the council. Human representatives will have full voting rights on all matters. Una felt tears in her eyes. She had waited her whole life for this moment. Her parents had waited. Her grandparents had waited. Generations of humans had dreamed of this day dad, and now it was here. Dohin put his hand on her shoulder. "We did it," he said softly. Una nodded. She could not speak. She could only stand there and feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Later that night, the humans gathered on a balcony of the station. They looked out at the stars together. Millions of points of light, each one a sun, many of them with planets, many of those planets with life. "The galaxy will never see us the same way again," Una said. Taiwu nodded. "That was the point. Some of them will hate us," Una continued. "Some will fear us. Some will try to find ways to destroy us." "Let them try," Minji said. She was standing beside Taiwu, still in her uniform. "We beat them once. We will beat them again." Una smiled sadly. "I hope it does not come to that. I hope we can build something better. Not just power, but partnership. Not just fear, but respect." Dahin spoke up. That will take time. Trust is not built in a day. But we have taken the first step. The hardest step. Everything else will follow. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Engineer Hannah was the one who finally spoke. You know what I think about when I look at those stars? I think about all the children on Earth who will grow up in a different galaxy than we did. A galaxy where humans are not weak. A galaxy where humans matter. That is worth everything we sacrificed. Taiwu looked at her. For the first time since anyone could remember, he smiled. A real smile. A human smile. Yes, he said. It is. The stars continued to shine. The galaxy continued to spin. And humanity took its place among the powers of the universe. Not as beggars. Not as victims. Not as the weak species that everyone ignored, but as equals. As protectors. As a force that could never be underestimated again. The old order had died at Colony 7. A new order was being born. And humanity stood at its heart, finally home among the stars. This was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning. There would be new challenges, new enemies, new battles to fight. But they would face them together. One species, one planet, one family, and the galaxy would never forget the day when one small ship changed everything. The day when humanity refused to die quietly. The day when the universe learned to respect the strange, stubborn, beautiful creatures called humans.